Welcome back to our channel. Today we're exploring a topic that affects every Canadian household, the new Canada Grocery Code of Conduct, which officially began on January 1, 2026. If you've ever wondered why food costs seem high, or why relationships between big grocers and suppliers matter, this video is for you. What is the Grocery Code of Conduct? Let's start with the basics. The Grocery Code of Conduct isn't a new law passed by Parliament. Instead, it's a voluntary set of rules that retailers, wholesalers, suppliers, and primary producers have agreed to follow in Canada's grocery industry. In simple terms, it sets expectations for how big supermarkets and food suppliers should deal with one another fairly and transparently. It outlines a dispute resolution process so issues can be resolved fairly instead of quietly behind the scenes. It introduces trade rule provisions that govern certain business practices between these partners. It's like establishing a code of ethics for the Canadian grocery supply chain. Not for shoppers at checkout, but for the businesses behind every product on the shelf. Why was this code created? So why now? The grocery sector in Canada has faced mounting pressure for years, especially after spikes in food prices, supply chain constraints, and consumer frustration stretching back to the pandemic. Large retailers sometimes charged fees or penalties to suppliers for things like shelf placement, promotional placement, or financing new services like online delivery. Suppliers argued these charges were unfair, unpredictable, or lacked clear rules. In response, industry leaders and government regulators agreed there needed to be clear, shared expectations, a standard set of principles to guide fair business dealings. This is what the Grocery Code aims to provide. Who is participating? A key part of this story is who has signed on. As of January 1st, Canada's 5 largest grocers, including Loblaws, Walmart Canada, Costco Canada, Metro, and Empire, which owns Sobeys and Safeway, have formally registered and committed to the code. That's significant. These companies operate thousands of stores across the country and have huge influence over pricing, product supply, and negotiations with suppliers. Smaller grocers and suppliers are also encouraged to join, but participation is voluntary. This is one reason why we won't see dramatic change overnight. What does the code actually do? Let's translate this into everyday language. The code focuses on relationships behind the scenes, between retailers like grocery chains, and suppliers like farmers or food manufacturers. Here are the main ways it works. Fair dealing. It encourages fairness when negotiating contracts, fees, or terms. To reduce surprises, all parties should operate with transparency and certainty. Dispute resolution. If a supplier feels a grocery chain has acted unfairly, there's now a mechanism to lodge a formal complaint and seek resolution, instead of informal pressure or quiet settlements. Governance and membership. An independent office called the Office of the Grocery Sector Code of Conduct was created to oversee the code's application, handle disputes, and publish reports on trends and issues. This structure is designed to maintain fairness and accountability over time. What the code doesn't do. This part matters. Despite the public narrative around grocery prices, the code does not directly regulate retail price levels or set limits on what consumers pay at the checkout. In other words, it doesn't force lower grocery prices. It doesn't set menu prices on bread, milk, or produce. It doesn't control how much Loblaws or Costco charges you today. It's a set of business practices, not a price control mechanism. That's why economists and industry experts caution that most consumers might not notice immediate changes when they walk into a grocery store. How might it help in the long run? Even if you don't see price tags change, the code could still have positive ripple effects. Better supplier relations, clearer rules, and dispute processes may give suppliers, especially smaller farms or food producers, more confidence and stability in their contracts. Reliable supply chains could, over time, reduce shortages or unpredictable price swings. More predictability. When business relationships are governed by fair and transparent standards, industries can plan better, whether that's seasonal product launches or cooperative marketing. Innovation and choice. Clearer rules could help smaller producers bring new products to market without being priced out by unfair fees or opaque negotiations. But again, these are long-term possibilities, not immediate outcomes. Why this matters to consumers? Let's put this into perspective. Food prices have been a major concern for Canadian families. Recent forecasts predicted household spending on food will continue to rise, in some cases by hundreds of dollars per year. Against that backdrop, it's understandable people look for solutions. But experts remind us, this code is more about behavior than price control. It's about encouraging fairness in a complex industry, not guaranteeing lower costs. Think of it as improving the ecosystem of production and distribution, rather than directly lowering grocery bills. What do critics say? Not everyone believes this code will make a big difference. Some industry watchers argue the voluntary nature means big companies might opt in without being held strictly accountable. Others suggest real competition, such as more independent grocers or greater price transparency, might be more effective at reducing prices than codes of conduct alone. It's a valid debate. Does a voluntary code have enough influence without enforceable penalties? Time will tell. Comparing to other countries, Canada isn't alone in trying something like this. Countries such as the United Kingdom and Australia have had grocery codes of conduct in place for years, aimed at rebalancing power between large retailers and suppliers. Those codes offer useful models for how dispute resolution, transparency, and fair negotiation can be institutionalized over time. Now that the code is fully operational, the Office of the Grocery Sector Code of Conduct can start receiving complaints. Retailers and suppliers are expected to adhere to the agreed principles. Annual reports will be published to track trends and challenges. But it will take months and likely years to see how effective this code becomes in practice. In summary, the Grocery Code of Conduct is a volunteer agreement meant to make how grocery companies deal with suppliers more transparent and fair. It doesn't directly lower prices or control grocery costs. The impact may take time to materialize, and most shoppers won't notice immediate changes at checkout. Over time, improved supply chain fairness could benefit producers and indirectly consumers. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what topic you'd like us to explore next.